Hello, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube. Myself, Mark Carlaw, and Riley Finch. Obviously, Riley donning his World Cup attire. You know, you in the spirit of it, mate. How you finding it? Are you well,
Well,
not as much in the spirit of it, but are you confident of how England are going so far?
well, I mean, the Iran game was a bit of a fresh one from watching West Ham the last couple of weeks. It's
Oh,
actually nice to see an attacking team, and then I kind of felt like I was watching David Moyes 2.0 in Southgate in the
mm,
USA game,
yeah,
and it was kind of back down to reality. But I haven't actually bought an England kit ever, so
right.
I went. I was thinking of just going down the shops and getting, the blue one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. What with the yeah. Are you talking about what from the Is that the early 90s? The
It's
blue.
literally this kit, but it's the away
Yeah,
kit. And
yeah.
and I saw this one and I just thought it's classy. Why not? Let's get it.
Gary
Um,
Lineker. I like
and I
it.
thought,
Yeah.
since we are West Ham and England, I thought we might as well merge the two together. But
Yeah.
I'm a lot more in the spirit than when prior to the World Cup. I don't know if you share that.
Yeah, no, I know. Beforehand, we did say, weren't we, that we were both, yeah, sort of like you weren't too sure. I was getting a little bit into it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I am a bit like you. I've kind of it's taken me a little while to get the going, but I am there. But like you say, like before we get into the Kurt Zouma stuff, it's like it's with England, it's like back turn to reality again. That
Hmm.
USA performance was so drab and so, like you say, typical. It was like it reminded me of West Ham this season, just so defensive, so negative, no oomph about it. But but still, we've got a big game Wales coming up, which will be exciting. But mate, we've got to talk about West Ham now. Back to the most important topic of all, Kurt Zouma, mate, as well. I mean, so we had a bit of news from the West Ham way come out that I think that it was likely that Zouma was going to be involved, I think, against Arsenal along with Cornet, which obviously brilliant news. But then I think because the club were quite confident that he'd be okay, but I think after then some recent checks, they decided an operation was needed to get it resolved. Mate, it just feels like deja vu for me. I'm so frustrated. It's like another player we've invested so much money in. And I believe he's still our highest earner at the club, or at least very much so one of them. And he's injury prone, another injury prone player. And I know it's no disrespect for Kurt Zouma because he's a good footballer and I understand it, but I'm so disappointed. I feel like I just genuinely feel like we're like the masters of our own downfall.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, before I go on to moaning about that, what's your feelings on the injury? Is it huge blow, do you think, then, for the club?
I mean, it is a huge blow. And especially because I think we resumed football on 26th of December, Boxing
Mm,
Day. That gives us about 8 days for the January transfer window. So it's kind of looking like, we're going to lose Dawson pretty soon after the season resumes because obviously, the
yeah,
whole deal with Manchester. Whether that's going to be the end of January or not, I don't know. But then you've got Ogbonna, who's fairly injury prone as well.
yeah.
Obviously, Agaird's coming back and he looks really, really good. Um, but and I think Kehrer as well, with Soufal potentially departing, will be our right back. If we choose not to sign a right back in January, I mean, it looks
Yeah.
like probably it's going to be a case of do we sign a right back or a centre back? But I mean, we'll probably talk about that in another video. But
Mm, mm.
Zuma's not really been himself this season. Some people have questioned, how good he's really been. But I do think it's a big blow for the team. I think he's probably our number one centre back, to be honest. But I do need to see a tiny bit more of a Ged just to see if he is the player that we've seen in
Mm.
pre-season and for Morocco.
Yeah.
But, if you cast your mind back to when we were trying to sign Zuma, who were we linked with? We were linked with, I think, Caljeta Carr at the
Yeah,
time.
collect car. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, collect car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think any West Ham fan would take 2 years of Kurt Zouma and then a couple of recurring injuries as opposed to having Kershaw Carr for 2 years.
Mm,
I think it was well worth the risk. Yes, it's a fair bit of money. I think 27 million. He's on a decent wage, but I think in his time at West Ham, he's been very, very good for us. And sometimes you have to take that risk on a player that's, look at Jesse Lingard. We took the risk on a player who wasn't playing very well, and we turned him into a great player. Sometimes you have to take a risk on a player like Kurt Zouma, where yes, he might be injured for a certain amount of time, but when he's fit, he's going to be one of our best centre backs. And unfortunately, the kind of position we're in, we either have to pay through the nose for a very, very good centre back, or we have to gamble on a John Stones or a Kurt
mm.
Zouma that is going to come into the team, play well, but you might get the recurring injury.
The problem is with Kurt Zouma is that the injury he got. I don't know if you remember the injury
It was
he sustained
awful.
when he was at Chelsea, when he's jarred his knee backwards, isn't it? It was horrendous. It just looked awful. And I remember actually thinking then he probably wouldn't play again. It was like that bad. You're thinking, I just can't see how he'd be able to recover. Obviously, I'm glad that he did. And I'm not knocking it for that, saying that we should never have touched him. But I just get the feeling that it's just such a typical West Ham thing to do. Like we've bought a player, spent a lot of money on him. And don't get me wrong, I know you're saying, well, yeah, he's been good. And he has. I'm not knocking that. But for me, he's never really looked fit. Like even from day one, he's never really looked quite right. I mean, if you recall, I think there was a couple of occasions on his first season where he went down and you just didn't see him get back up again. Suddenly he's hobbling off. And then he'd be like, oh, we're not sure how long he's going to be out for. The only good thing that he's managed to do is recover pretty fast from injuries. Like he'd be ruled out for, say, a period of, I don't know, a couple of months. And you'd see him back within about 3 or 4 weeks. He'd be playing. So that's the only positive I can think of in terms of his injury record, that he does seem to recover pretty quick. But I don't know, mate. I'm still not sure. I still think that we could have done a better option there. I just think, and this is just a blow we just desperately don't need. I mean, we're going to do another video regarding our defensive situation, like you just highlighted. Like these, we've got so many issues across the back line at the moment, and players wanting to leave, players that are injury prone, and all this kind of stuff. And now Zuma's just added to that. And as you say, he's a key player for us. I just think it's a huge blow. And dare I say it, mate? I mean, I'm going to be like the pessimistic here, but this could be season out. Do you know what I mean? Like the second you hear operations and knees, you never think to yourself, well, he'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'm already thinking we're probably not going to see him till February, March. That's my gut feeling. Do you know what I mean? That's just, if it's I don't know the significance of the operation, whether it was a slight minor keyhole injury, surgery, or something more significant. I just don't know enough detail on it, but. Yeah, it'd be just typical West Ham. Do you know what I mean? You just think on a season we desperately are struggling and we want to get going, that our key defender now is going to probably be ruled out for a period of time. He definitely won't be available for Arsenal. I'm all but certain on that. So, yeah, it's a huge blow, and just one now we've got to deal with. We've got a back line where, like you say, we've got a Gerd who I think is looking very, very good. Ogbonna, like Zouma now, same bracket. Great player, but my word, like you can't trust him now anymore because of his injuries. You just know that an injury seems to be waiting around the corner, and his age as well doesn't help. I'm starting to be really concerned, mate, and especially the fact you've got then Craig Dawson, who's made it quite clear to the club he wants to move on. I think we've got a bit of a problem in our hands, really do, and yeah, I'm starting to feel a bit anxious about the whole situation, especially with the fact, on top of that we spent quite a lot of money this summer. Well, we did spend a lot of money this summer, so we haven't really got funds available, I don't believe, in January to be making big changes within the team. I mean, I think if we're going to have to buy, we're going to have to sell first, or we have to look at the loan market. And I just think January's a shite time to be doing all that. But yeah, I'm such a blow, mate. I'm really gutted, really gutted about it.
Yeah, it does seem like the defence is keeping the physios in a job at the moment. With the amount of injuries that we get, Kurt Zouma is probably their favourite person, isn't he? He's like, "Oh, Kurt, nice to see you back in the physio room, mate."
Yeah.
But yeah, it is worrying, and obviously there are a lot of external factors. He's not even that old, really. He's like 28 years old.
Yeah, you're right. He's not old.
But without that injury, I don't think Chelsea would have sold him in the first place. And his pedigree and how good a player he can be. I think, like I say, I think you have to take the good with the bad. I think you have to kind of take that. Yeah, every now and then he's going to have these silly injuries, but like you say, he's never looked 100% fit, and he always goes down every now and then, clutching his knee, and you think, well, he's broken it. What's going on here? And honestly, like I think the whole squad are just dealing with injuries. I don't think there's a single fit player in that West Ham squad, because every single minute it's like, oh, well, Dawson was playing with an injury and had to take injections. Zouma always looks like he's trying to deal with something. Antonio's hamstrings are always like, on watch for, are they going to break or snap? So yeah, I don't know what, we've always had a historically bad injury crisis.
We do, yeah, and it's part and parcel of the game, isn't it? I know everyone always thinks, oh, we've had a really bad run of injuries. I'm sure a lot of clubs feel that way, but it just sometimes feels a little bit of West Ham like we shoot ourselves in the foot, like we just sort of like. All I know, I mean, I don't know the details of it, but when Kurt Zouma signed, there was a lot of doubt over his knee. I think a lot of risk was, when they did the medical, basically to say to avoid, I believe. And I think the club were very dubious about it. And my understanding is that David Moyes actually was the one that really wanted to push that deal through. And that's no disrespect for Moyes, because he has been a good player for us. But you just sometimes feel like, oh, really? Like, couldn't we have just been more wise and just stuck with a player that, as you say, look, at the end of the day, you're going to get bad luck with injuries. That does happen at times, but if you know a player's got a very bad injury, a very bad significant knee injury, would you really go and spend a huge amount of money and massive wages on them? I mean, like I play, Football Manager, things like that. There's things you just avoid. It doesn't matter who they are. You know what I mean? If someone said to you, well, you could sign Messi tomorrow, but by the way, he's got a horrendous cruciate knee injury and he could go any moment, you'd probably not bother. It's just not worth
Would
the
you not?
aggravation. Well, it's not, is it? Because it's typical West Ham. You play about half hour and he'll be out for 4 years. You know what I mean? It's just,
Mate,
what's the point?
30 minutes of Lionel Messi in a West Ham shirt. I'll take that. I don't care what wages he's on. Cruciate ligament injury, mate. You could have one bloody leg. I'll take Messi. I don't care.
Yeah, well,
But,
this season maybe. Yeah.
obviously, you're very well versed. Football Manager and all that sort of stuff. You seem like you know what you're talking about, Mark. So
I really don't know. I'm winging it.
No, I think what. So if we're talking about end of the video, sort of ending question, go back 2 years time. Would you sign Kurt Zouma? Yes or no?
No, I wouldn't have done that.
You wouldn't?
And that's just no respect for him. He's a good player, but not if he's got bad injuries. I just don't see the point. We've done it before, and we just know where this road is going. You know what I mean? It just feels like a bit recurring with him now. Don't forget, he's only had one full season here, so this is his second season. He's only just been here he's been with what's that? Say 38 games, say like 50 games. So you're looking at, it's not much, and considering that time we've had now probably 4 quite serious times. Time was when he's been out now for and we've managed to handle it. But in seasons when you're struggling as well, you just think, oh, really? Like he's out again, and this one now it's required an operation. For me, that's always like a sign of like just the unknown, isn't it? Like, well, when are they ever going to come back? I mean, even look at Max Corner. He's just got a thigh injury, and they were, oh yeah, and it's taking him weeks and weeks and weeks to get back, and he's still. I saw a picture of him the other day. They were, he's on the road for recovery. His legs all strapped up. I'm thinking this is supposed to be something he was out for a couple of weeks ago. This is like what we're pushing 3 months ago, maybe. Is it 2 or 3 months now since he's been injured? It's like. I don't know, but I mean that's a bad luck one. But yeah,
that's a whole new video. That one.
Yeah, we'll save that nugget for later on. Yeah. So what's your feeling? You're against me. You still would have signed Zouma.
I would have signed Zouma, and I think he, keep him for the next 3 or 4 years. Yeah, he'll have recurring injuries, but I think like you say, if he's playing 50 games and he misses 5 or 10 of them, I think that's an awful return. I think as well. This is the perfect time to have an injury. World Cup, he could come. We might not even see him off the pitch. This is a good. We're lucky that this is a good time to get an injury, and I hope he comes back bigger and stronger.
I hope so, mate. I hope you're right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.